All right.
So welcome back, guys. I'm Jaden, and welcome back to my channel where I share information on health, fitness, and overall self-improvement and optimization. I have an interview today. It's actually an update interview with Wayo. I think he was on my channel about, was that like a month and a half ago or something?
I think it was about a month and a half ago, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so he's back. We've been in contact. He's doing well. He's here to share his updated experience with the health crash journey he's going through.
Hey, how are you?
I'm so glad you're able to come back on. And you look good. You lost, like you said, you lost weight.
Yeah, I've lost like 17 pounds.
That's awesome.
Yes, especially because this thing kind of made it pile on. And in the beginning, it felt really out of control because no matter what I did, and like I didn't try to go lose weight. You've mentioned that in your videos before, and it's so important. I didn't like try to go get lean and do a monster workout. You can't,
Yeah.
But what I did try to do was eat as well as I could. And you would think some weight would come off because I was the heaviest I'd ever been in my life. And it didn't. The weight did not come off. And that was kind of scary to me because it was the most out of control I'd ever felt. Not just all the symptoms that you have, but then like, if you've ever seen that Stephen King movie Thinner, where the guy gets uncontrollably skinny, I felt like I had the opposite. I had like thicker, and it was like, and it didn't matter what I ate. So to see that it's been coming off has been a testament to the consistency, I think. And my body slowly, it's like turning a ship around. Like if you see a big Navy vessel, it's not going to turn around in 1 second, but it slowly turns and my metabolism is acting more normal. My blood sugar situation is completely different.
Yeah.
Than it was. I mean, I was a slave to my blood sugar for a while, eating every hour and a half.
Yeah.
That was bad. It was.
And how often are you eating now?
I eat 1 to 2 times a day.
Okay. And you're fine now, right? Like you can rate, like you sustain, right?
Yes. And I want to like definitely give a warning about fasting. Like you don't want to jump into fasting. It was something that I tested over time to see how my blood sugar would respond. And in the beginning, if I didn't feel like it was going well at all, I'd pull the plug on it and go right back to what I was doing before. But I did notice that, when this first starts, food is a big thing with this and nutrition and not doing a fad diet, not doing something that's going to put undue stress on your body, but will support it back into where it needs to be. But I did, I had a nutritionist helping me, and her thing was you need to try to, over time, make the meals a little farther apart, right? To see how your blood sugar stabilizes. Because as you know, and I might've said it in the last one, I had whole weeks where I had to wake up in the middle of the night to eat. That's how bad it was. My blood sugar would just drop. I had to wake up with my heart pounding because when your blood sugar drops, the only way to get sugar into the bloodstream quickly is adrenaline or cortisol, right? So here I am in the middle of the night. My wife would make, God bless her, make these meals that would be in the fridge for me. And I'd come down there at 2, 3 in the morning, which if you've dealt with this, that's the witching hour. It's always like 2 or 3 in the morning when your cortisol drops or whatever, something happens in your cortisol that makes your blood sugar drop. So I started putting them further and further apart and it was working. And then I was like, okay, I was eating 3 meals a day. I was like, what if I dropped breakfast and just had an early lunch and saw what that was like? And that's helped with the weight, but I think it's also helped train my body out of being in this fight or flight. Now, this is just my speculation. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a therapist. I'm not any of those things like you always say, but it just seemed like that when the time was right and I did that it started to turn the ship just a little bit more. And that's the thing is you always want to know exactly where you are in this thing. You don't want to do too little or too much. That's what and so that was the thing was prudence is a virtue. And it was always like, one thing this taught me is that in life, prudence is always going to look different, right? So for me, every day I was thinking, is now the time to try something a little different, or is this the same? Week over week and day over day, month over month, things change and you just want to meet that where it is. And it's been great. And so now I have been dropping the weight. I feel better. I'm not all out of breath all the time. And all that stuff that kind of comes with being the heaviest you've ever been, you know?
That's so good. Yeah. And you can just tell by the way you talk and like your mannerism, like you're more yourself, you know? Like, because even the last time you weren't in phase one, but there's a hesitation of like letting yourself express because you feel like you're gonna, like be too much and crash. I mean, like, yeah.
There is that hesitation is an interesting thing too. And like, one of the things you don't want to do is overdo things in this, right? But then the hesitation is something that I really thought about too, because that's that underdoing too. If you don't want to turn into a super fragile egg in a way too, the second you can take some of that hesitation away, you want to peel little by little back, right? And I started doing a little bit more work. I'm a realtor. And so I was able to start taking on a little bit more. I actually sold a house for the first time in 4 months last week. So it's things like that. But yeah, it was definitely, I was getting to this point where I was getting better, but I could feel that like I was almost becoming afraid of my own shadow. Like there is that hesitation.
Yeah.
And you have to kind of work your way out of that too.
Yeah. And I just want to say to my like subscribers and viewers, so I have been speaking with Wayo for this, quite a while. And he really is somebody who is very committed. And I think he really tries to be like very in tune with everything. And I think, as I've mentioned in so many videos, it's just so key. Like you can't get better without being like willing to completely change like certain ways that has just wronged you, obviously. And also you can't go through this successfully without being aware and constantly like making adjustments. It takes, and you can see he's doing so much better because I followed him. We kept in contact through his progression, and it's because of that. I mean, I think it is, it's just, he has the same info as a lot of us, but he's able to apply it, so I just really want to highlight that because a lot of you guys are asking a lot of specific, like quick fixes. And I get so many emails on like, what supplement is like the magical one, and there isn't. And there's not even like there's no one way. I mean, there's just like a general info, but it's just about being like consistent and adjusting and listening to yourself. I know we talk about this. It's like so simple, but it's the exact ingredient that we've all missed. That's why we're in this place, so yeah.
It's one foot in front of the other. And that's one of the things that's hardest for type A people, or people that have experienced any like success while being young, like you said, gymnast, actor, different things in entertainment, and you had been so high achieving, it almost feels like you can skip steps in life. And one of the things I actually wrote, I smiled real big when you said it, because I actually wrote it down. Be willing to change completely. Because to me, like people will say, oh, you need to change your behavior and that will help this heal. But behavior is downstream from beliefs and identity. So if you're identifying as a go person, which is not in reality, nobody really is. I mean, we're all genetically set up a little bit different. Some people have a little more energy, some people will require a little less sleep, but not being delusional about those things. And with this, like being super committed to one step in front of the other, 1 foot in front of the other, is going to teach you, like really going to teach you who you are. So for me, this thing became one of my biggest spiritual teachers. And that's what I just keep telling people, is that I really, the day it happened, I'll never forget, I looked right at my wife and I said, this is the answer to prayer. It's at the time seemed really uncomfortable and unfortunate in prayer, but I was like, I'm going to listen to this and I'm going to respond to it. And it helped that I have a wife and kids, for me. So one thing I would recommend is find your why. Everybody talks about you got to have a why. And so for me, it's like every day seeing my kids' faces and going, I got to get better. But it's interesting because you think that make you want to rush it. But because I've heard you and anybody else that I've ever trusted that's dealt with this say, do not rush anything. That's actually take longer. That it gave me the strength and fortitude to go, okay, like when that little guy pops up in your head that says, go run 3 miles, or go try this diet because you're sick of having the weight on you, or whatever it is that you think is going to fix this symptom or that symptom, or take a bunch of supplements really early on, or drink coffee or something to make yourself feel better. Every time that wanted to pop up, I would just find, that was my thing, was my family. So I'm going to zero in on that and go, how can I just be a tiny bit better for them every day? Like, I know this one guy in Los Angeles that this happened. He was an aerialist and he fell down and he broke his neck. And it's been probably 3 or 4 years and the dude is this close to walking. And I think it's really important to realize that, and maybe this is getting like too deep, but like in life, the journey is the destination, right? This is where I am right now. And the best thing you can do for yourself is accept exactly where you are. That dude shouldn't be able to walk or even move his hands. He broke his neck and he's able to swim and do stuff. I mean, he's not walking on his own, but these triumphs happen because what I noticed was the second it happened, the dude just accepted it. So if I could say, the biggest thing for me and why it's only taken me 4.5 months to get to where I am, and I would say I'm very firmly in phase 3 based on your system, which I love that system. It's super accurate. I'm pretty firmly in phase 3. Last time we talked, I thought I was in 4, but I was in 2 and having a surge, which you talk about in the most recent, like the phase 2, what to do video.
Yeah.
Those surges are a real thing. I felt really good that whole like week.
Mm-hmm.
And, but yeah, that ability to just really accept where you are and not rush anything and just like take it a step at a time is everything. But it then also changes you as a person.
Yeah, it's actually quite nice to have gone through it myself and then to talk to you and like know that you're on the right track. Obviously, I've talked to a lot of people, and a lot of people, there's a group of people who are on the right track. There's a group of people who are still trying to figure out, how they're going to go about it. Yeah, and it's really tough. I mean, I don't blame anyone for feeling like stuck because it's just so challenging. But yeah, it is really rewarding, not just because I'm doing this channel or sharing this information, but just seeing somebody really finding that balance. And it just reminds me of when I was really down in the gutters with this, and the moment when I was able to like let go and find that balance of like accepting it, and then that moment of clarity, it's really awesome. I think yeah.
Finding that is what helped me, because I was able to find it much more early on, because all of your videos from somewhat during your time plus after and reflecting back, it's just this message that etches in. And I can't tell you, there were times where I Googled how to get over adrenal fatigue quickly, right? There's that moment where you're like, where's that answer? And then you'll find somebody's claim of something and just, I would go, that's not right. And I would step back out of it and I would go back. And my favorite video of yours of all time is the one on setbacks. It's really important because setbacks are going to happen. In any growth, there's always 3 steps forward, 1 step back, or 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Every setback I had, I came out of stronger, not just mentally, but also physically. I had a small one a couple weeks ago and it pushed me forward after. And you learn a lot about yourself, and you do become more mentally strong too, because you're like, oh, this just, okay, I didn't sleep, right? My body won't let me sleep. So what am I gonna do about that? Sit here and freak out? No, I'm gonna calm down and do the best I can and take care of myself. What is my body, like that ability to shift and go, what does my body need? It's just so vital to have that message constantly there. And I always kind of hope that if anybody's watching this, if this happens to be the first one that they see out of all this, please go to the rest of this channel and look at all the phases and look at all the advice, because it helped me so much to, I don't want to say the word expedite, but it almost feels like expedited in the sense that I've been able to avoid doing things that would send me back to phase 1 over and over again, which I think a lot of people struggle with.
I think it's definitely a combination of, I am biased, but I do feel like I put out really honest information that really works. And you just happen to be somebody who's able to really resonate with that and actually do the work. For more technical discussion, I have a list of what I want you to kind of maybe tell me or tell all of us how it was before you saw this improvement and after, right? So we'll start with just the crash setbacks. So before, it was happening fairly frequently. When you and how's that compared like now?
They're smaller, shorter, and way less frequent.
Okay.
Also, I'm stronger mentally, so they may even seem smaller than they are because I'm able to be much calmer about it. I think that's a huge thing. But yeah, they're definitely they definitely are much more docile, and I haven't had one in a while.
Okay.
I think it was 2 or 3 weeks ago that I had, and it was so small. So the ones I had before would be like, oop, oop, it's coming. You go right over that hill, and it's like, it starts with night 1, absolutely no sleeping, heart pounding out of my chest, heart palpitations, trembles, shortness of breath, anxiety, no appetite. Appetite would go away, which is terrible because you need the food. And it would just be this huge overhaul. It would take me a solid week to even get back to what I felt like, even close to what I felt like right before the crash. And then it would take me still even maybe a few more days to really get to that level. But it would take me a week to be like, okay, I don't have to be freaking out anymore. Not that you should freak out about it. That's the point, is to not freak out. But, it started to go, okay, well, I can sleep better now, and da-da-da. And then it just started getting shorter and shorter. And so the last one I had, I woke up at 3 a.m. with a little bit of the old symptoms, trembles, a little heart pumping. I thought and I went through my head, did I push myself too hard in these days leading up to this? And you're going to have to take a little risks. You're going to have to try to you don't want to go jump into things, but you stretch it a little bit, right? And it wasn't really that. I think it's something that you've said before, and this is my speculation as well, that as your body is realigning itself, there's going to be a little bit of loops. There's going to be a little bit of just your body will do that. And I think just being able to sit with it and go, that's okay. If you need to adjust. And so I'd gotten like 4 or 5 hours of sleep that night, which is way better than 0. And the next night, my sleep was a little splotchy. I was tired that day, the day between those 2 nights. But by like 10 or 11 a.m., I was just, my mind kind of cleared. I was focused on my family and my duties, not overdoing anything, but the things that you need to do, staying with your schedule, like getting up at the same time every day helps set that rhythm for your hormones and your sleep. And so I just defaulted to what I know, drinking my holy basil tea, eating the right things, taking time to rest, doing my breathing exercises. And by that night, like I said, maybe my sleep was a little splotched that night. And the next day I had more energy the next day than I'd had before the crash. Of course, I was like, whoa, I have this energy, but I don't want to use it because I'm a little worried it could happen again. But so much different, night and day different.
Okay, that's great. Yeah. And just the way you're talking about it, I know you're on the right track. I mean, it's just,
thank you.
You could just see it, because when you talk about those symptoms, it doesn't consume you.
Right.
Like a lot of people who are going through phase 1 and 2, it's like, it just, even when they talk about it, it's like, there's panic already. And then that just adds to, the whole, so yeah, it's really great. Wow.
And that panic is totally understandable. I mean, we've experienced it. And that's again, why I would go back and watch that setback video so much, because the message I was getting was don't panic. And it's really hard to tell yourself that.
Yeah. Cause you are yourself. It's like, it's so funny. You're like playing 2 roles,
Yeah, okay. But if you hear somebody else saying, whatever you do, don't panic, that's it. Don't panic.
What about as far as your, like, I guess, physical activity energy, like before and after, or before and now?
So when the crash first happened, I couldn't even go up. I live in a house with stairs, and I couldn't even go up 1 flight without being out of breath for like 5 minutes. And it wasn't just the weight I put on. It was like literally just my body couldn't do it. It still kind of mystifies me how that happens. But, and before that, I was very fit and running and doing all that kind of stuff. So it was really surprising to me. But one thing is I didn't let that cause panic because I'd heard enough people tell me about that. So again, not having panic made it not grow too big. So I couldn't even walk up and down the stairs. I stayed in bed most of the time. I was between the bed, the bathtub, and the couch for probably the first 6 weeks solid. Then my wife helped me venture outside. We walked a block in phase 2, a block, and I had a ton of anxiety the whole time. Now I walk about 4 to 6 miles almost every day. I adjust it based on how I feel. You get to this point where you don't want to be obsessing over yourself and your condition, but because that can also not be great for you, but you just know how to check in with yourself a lot better. And there are days where I don't walk at all because I'm like, you know what, today's not the right day for it. I'm feeling a little headachy or something. I'll stretch. I'll focus on, stretching and being with my family. Or, maybe I've had a really busy 2 days with work that things have just come up. So, but generally 4 to 6 miles, and I can do some jogging in there. I can jog about 3 solid blocks now, which is like, when you haven't been able to do anything, that feels like everything. Of course, the temptation is then to overdo it, which I don't. But I find that little kind of limit and stay in it. And I'm working out a little bit. I actually just worked out before I came in here. It was squat day today. So I have a home gym. But when I say squat day, I was squatting. I've worked up to 95 pounds now. So I do put the bar on my back now, but it was like, you have to understand that at like not too long before I crashed, I was squatting 385 pounds. So that's that kind of watching somebody who's broken their neck regain little things. You have to enjoy those victories, and you love them as if what I just did felt bigger to me than when I deadlifted 405 pounds.
Totally. Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah.
And it's different because that the victory is more meaningful because you're taking care of yourself. You're not doing it to be crazy and overdo everything that got you into this, right? It's like, I have a huge smile on my face the whole time I do it, but I move slowly through my workout. I take my time. I make sure I take enough rest. And so some weeks I work out up to 3 times a week, but last week was only 1 because last week I was a little tired. But it's just, it's cool to see that, like, I can play with my son now. I mean, I can go to the playground with him and I can push him on a swing. And that feels like a miracle. So he's 2.5 years old. And it's like, that's the age where they're running around a lot. I can carry him now. I mean, I could not. Carrying him before felt like I was carrying like 7 sacks of potatoes. He's 30 pounds, but it felt like hundreds of pounds, And I remember putting him in his crib at one point in phase 2 and just going, like, having to like lean over on something and being like, whoa. So yeah, the activity is just, it's nice to have it. I don't want to overdo it. Sometimes I have energy and I go, I'm going to conserve it. I'm going to save some for tomorrow. And I never want to overdo anything ever again.
Yeah. Yeah. I understand. What about as far as the ability to handle like stimulation and stress? Like whether it's like a loud movie or tons of people, or tell us about that. Like,
so this is very, very, very right now. It's a great question to ask. I know we've been talking about it a little bit, so it's very timely. Those things are just now starting to expand. So in the beginning, if my son was having a nightmare, and I remember going in his room and trying to comfort him with my wife, and that was it. Like within 30 seconds, I had to leave, go to another floor of the house and lay down because it was just like, you just can't handle it, and you feel your heart pounding. It's like everything going on outside of you can suddenly reach into your adrenal glands and push them. It's not even psychological, it's like it bypasses your brain and pushes your body. It was that sensitive. So I said it in the last video, I'm a very devout Catholic. So I used to go to mass 4 or 5 times a week. I didn't go for 4 months. Too big, too many people. too much like sitting in one spot, like sitting up. Well, they call it Catholic calisthenics, right? Standing, kneeling, sitting, standing. So I would just worship from home. But now, as of not this last Sunday, but the Sunday before, you're one of the first people I think I told. I went to mass for the first time. And at first my body did have one of those reactions, but my mind's gotten stronger and I was able to kind of tell my body, and my body is at a place where I knew I was ready. And I knew I was going to have that little thing where the nervousness kind of gets exaggerated because my body is not normal yet. And I gave myself permission. I was like, if it's too much, I'll just leave. But within about 5 minutes, I was like, this is going to go away. And by 10 minutes, it was gone. I was so happy to be there. I went back to mass over this last weekend as well. And actually like confession, which is, I know this is maybe personal, but it's just, the thing is like confession is very vulnerable, and that can make you, I always get nervous when I go to confession. So it's
any of those emotions.
So I would avoid it because it felt like a lot. So I was able to go to confession this weekend too. I put things like stimulating movies kind of last, and I started watching House MD again, which is one of my old favorite shows, which is a terrible show to have as your favorite show when you have health anxiety. But I love that show, and I started watching it this last week, and it felt like before, but I think what I noticed was that maybe before it always stimulated me, right? And so I was watching it before going to bed recently. And it's what I used to do back in the day. I was like, oh, I'd watch like an episode of House, and so I was watching it this last week, and there's like a real claustrophobic scene, and I was like, and I think it's important to know that, like, even when you are completely out of this, you're able to, like, I think the thing was before, everybody says, like, oh, you need to be, listen to your body. You hear that all the time, especially in LA, right? There's yoga teachers, everybody everywhere says, listen to your body, but it's very easy to be very deaf to your body. That like, that even when you're completely well, that an Avengers movie or that TV show I'm talking about, or, you know, whatever, can stimulate you in ways that you weren't paying attention to before, which is part of what led to this, right? If I was watching these stimulating TV shows every night, I was getting less sleep, which was contributing to and then there's the kind of domino effect. So I cut that, but I can watch that kind of stuff during the day. And so I'm kind of thinking like this week I'll start, like, I love James Bond movies. So I think like this week, maybe during the day, I'll take like the afternoon off and like watch a James Bond movie and see how it goes. But it is still night and day different. It's very different now.
Yeah, for sure. That sounds great. And then also, as far as like those random symptoms, I mean, it's hard to just go specific, but, you know, everybody has different symptoms. Like some people have the eye symptoms, the shaking is a common one. So anything like that for you, like just kind of overall random symptoms, they've decreased as well, I'm assuming.
Tremendously.
Yeah.
The one that I noticed that still sticks around a little bit, and it's actually a really nice indicator of if I'm more tired than I know, is the little bit of trembles, like the under the skin trembles. Not like your hand's not doing this, you can't see it, but it's just like it feels like it's just right under your skin, and it's just
like,
and it's like when I feel that stuff, I go, I should, even though I don't feel like I'm that tired, I should listen to that. Again, listening to your body. And so that one, I never really noticed in the earlier phases, but I think it was because I was so caught up with other things that when those things decreased, I noticed this one. But for me, it's just an indicator, and it kind of comes and goes. But oh yeah, like shortness of breath is gone. Heart palpitations are gone. Gone. Like, I check my heart rate every morning and every night just to kind of see where I'm going. And it's like my heart rate at those times of day has been decreasing. So, you know, whereas in the beginning of this, in really rough nights, it would be 90s, you know, like 90 beats per minute or more, 100. Like, do you have those moments and you're like, why is this happening? Now it's, you know, 61 to 65. And so it's all coming down. And again, you'll have these days where it'll, you know, little things will pop back up. But, you know, it's just turning that ship very slowly, just staying with it and encouraging your body to get further and further into that recovery. But
Nice.
it's so nice not having a lot of those random symptoms just like pop up out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Like where you're fine and then all of a sudden just like,
Oh,
no. And having a support system is a huge thing in that. And I think, I mean, I just think I thank God for my wife like every day.
oh
But
yeah.
she's never experienced it. But for somebody who hasn't experienced it, she's been extremely empathetic.
Mm-hmm.
But I also have several people in my life that actually have experienced it. And for anybody watching this, like I've said before, feel free to contact me on Instagram. That's the best way to like slide into the DMs, as the kids say. It's the best way to get a hold of me initially. But there are people that I keep in touch with now all over the world, just kind of at different phases, and just kind of trying to hold people up and remind them, hey, like if they're having a problem, like and they do the same for me. And it's
Yeah.
really nice to have that conversation constantly going.
Yeah, it's so common now all over the world. I mean, because I think we're just so used to stress, and we're like, it's become a new problem,
The
Um,
21st century syndrome.
syndrome.
One of the things too is I think a lot of people nowadays think that they can't open up about stuff and they don't want to seem weak. Oh, the world is so fast paced, and how am I going to compete? And what will people think I'm, it actually even went through my mind right before we started this. I went, I'm a realtor, and people Google your name if they're going to use you as a realtor. What if people see this and go, oh, he has problems? I went, you know what? Then I don't want that client.
Yeah, because you're gonna draw people who also have business that is in resonance with like the truth part of you,
And I've had some amazing conversations lately with people that didn't quite deal with this, but that, like people from my company that are also realtors. I've had this conversation and talked to one that's old. It's older. He's middle-aged and is older than me. I don't mean older for anybody that's middle-aged and watching, but he just kept telling me over and over again how proud he was of me. And I thought that conversation was going to be weird. I was like, I got to tell him because he's trying to send me some business. And I just want to let him know what's really going on. And just being honest and open, and like my whole church community knows, there's so much outpouring of support and people sending us meals. I mean, it's been amazing, meals, but that ability to just let go and not have to hold on so tightly anymore and be like, oh, I'm in charge and everything's okay. I've got everything together all the time. I think a lot of the people that suffer from this the most are the ones that are trying to hold so much together. And unfortunately, sometimes they're in situations where this almost can't be helped. I read a story about a gal who's a school teacher when this happened, or she crashed and she had to go teach children every day. So for those of you that, it's hard to find the ability to stop life to take care of this, like I'm praying for you. It's tough, it's like I couldn't just suddenly not have a toddler and a 10-month-old. That couldn't just go away overnight for me to go recover. Being honest and open and being willing to share with other people on this, like you'd be so surprised how many people are going to understand and how much relief you get from not trying to look like you have it all together all the time. Mm-hmm. And that was huge for me because I'm a control freak, or before I was very perfectionistic and controlling, and just letting that go and being like, I'm going through a rough time.
Yeah, I wanted to add something to that is that I think it will really help with a lot of people's questions is that it's not just the letting go. I mean, like obviously the letting go helps, but it's the being okay with that you let go.
Yeah.
Because if you just let go, but you're not okay with it, you're like, well, that's more anxiety, but you have to like let go and be okay with like, okay, I made the choice to let go. I just, and that was key for me. I think that would be key for a lot of you guys who are struggling, especially in phase 2 or any of the phases. If you're stuck in like you can't let go, or like you're stuck in this, it's so hard to explain it, but like you're stuck in this need to push against. I think that's the best way for me to, and that is just, in my opinion, not going to help you, because that's just more of pushing against, and that's just more work and stress and anxiety. And the only solution to this is going to be less work, less anxiety, and less push against. So, and I think, and I think Wayo did it really well. So he's getting through all the phases quick. He's gotten a lot of good information from all his researches, but I think the main key is he's very self-aware, and he's willing to go the extra mile as far as looking inward and just surrender and go through this experience, this journey. So I think that definitely helped me. I could see that's really helping him. And I really encourage those of you who are struggling in this journey, that's something to think about and process, because I think that will, really bring a lot of release for you and, move you forward.
I never thought about it that way. And that's a really good way of putting it. It's like it's two layers. Letting go is not quite enough.
Mm-hmm.
If you just let go, again, like you said it perfectly, I'm letting go, because I went through that in phase 2. It was very like, well, look at me, I'm letting go.
Mm-hmm.
But it was almost like there's still this tension to it, instead of going, like I said to somebody today on the phone that asked me how I'm doing, a friend of mine, I said, if I was like this, like I am right now for the rest of my life, and it didn't get any better, I would feel so unbelievably blessed. Now I have a diminished work capacity. Yeah, I can't work as much as I could before, but yet I'm sitting here and I meant it. And to know, and by the way, I am going to get better. This thing does go away, and that's something to really focus on. It goes away if you let it. But that being said, if I was stuck here, just that gratitude. And this is another thing that you did for me a lot, which was really stepping into that gratitude and learning how to laugh. Like watch stand-up comedy. Find something that makes you laugh. Find ways to enjoy yourself during this time, even the hardest times. For me, in the very beginning, I watched a lot of YouTube videos about aviation because I just enjoyed it. Something about it helped me get out of myself. It's in the sky. It's kind of, there's a lot of amazing views, and I just would it made me happy. So I started following a ton of these aviation YouTubers, and now I'm like an aviation fan, which I wasn't before. But finding things to laugh at, finding moments to enjoy yourself. And the thing is, eat a burrito. And what I mean by that was, there was one point where I was finally pulling out of phase 2. I was at kind of the end of phase 2, and I've been eating really well. And I was just dying to eat a burrito. And I'm like, well, that's not really how I should be eating if I'm dealing with this. And I agonized about whether or not I should eat a burrito for 3 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I ate the burrito. It was a fantastic burrito, and it was the right move was to eat the burrito. My point is, take really good care of yourself, but find moments that you can enjoy something. And like right now, I'm eating very clean. I'm eating at, I'm very much monitoring. I'm kind of messing with the food right now. I'm learning more about myself with that. But because I eat no processed sugar, but there's these little keto peanut butter cups, and there's no sugar in them, and I'll have like one a day, but when I eat that sucker, I eat it like tiny little bite, and I'm enjoying it so much. And just finding those moments to have enjoyment. If you just let go, and that's it, and you're just pissed about it, I've done it. Look, I've let go. It's going to take you so long to get out of this thing. And like finding stuff that makes you laugh, that was huge. Like there was one day that I reached out to you and I was like, I'm not doing so hot. I'm not feeling so good. Find something to laugh at. And I did. And it just, my whole day turned on. The physical thing didn't go away, but I got in such a different mindset. And then I think that helped it go away a little quicker. And I was actually, during my last setback, I reached out to you and I really appreciate it. I was like, it's happening again. And the thing too is it'd been like a month since I'd had one. Mm. So I kept saying, remember I said, I'm spoiled. I feel spoiled. Like, yeah, it's this big, but it feels huge to me in comparison to what I've been dealing with. So yeah, finding those things that you enjoy that aren't going to harm you.
Yeah, I remember it was, I remember our conversation. It's very much like, this is just another piece of what we're talking about, that when you're going through the healing, it is kind of like let's say you broke your leg and you're healing. And of course, in the first part, it's like you want to baby that leg for it to heal. But eventually, you're going to have to go through trial and error. Like, okay, put some weight on it, just not too much weight. You know, you're not going to have a painless, like, that's why, you know, people, see, this is why it's so tricky to share this information, because yes, in the beginning phases, if you're doing too much and you're like staying in that cycle, that's what you need to break. But then eventually the lesson changes. The lesson is then, okay, you've healed enough. Now, how can you be balanced on moving forward without doing too much, but still push forward? Because there's gonna be a time where if you don't push forward, like if you didn't start doing gradually more physical activity, you're not gonna progress. In fact, you'll go backwards. So,
and you'll get bitter.
Yeah, and so it's a pretty much like a never-ending journey as far as like being aware and adjusting. But you know, I'm here to share, and like you're like, I'm so glad to make the connection with you. Yeah. Other people like yourself, you know, who are all sharing on my channel and other channels and stuff. And I think that's
such a great thing. You're right, the lesson changes. You get to a point and you gotta start kind of learning a new lesson.
Yeah.
But it is tempting to, it's still, even at this stage, it's still tempting to overdo things. And it's, you know, so stay out of the, it's like I wrote this down here, said know exactly where you are and try to know that as well as you can. And just ride that line, and slowly it'll change.
I can't wait to have you update us when you're like, you know, all the way in stage 4 or phase 4 and beyond. Yeah. I wanted to, I guess a shout out to my female subscribers and viewers, that if you have a story like this and you want to share with me on an interview, I would really love to have a female perspective on this experience. I'm sure that there's going to be specific like female experience with the different hormones, and maybe the crashes feel different. So I would really like it. I know I've been in touch with a lot of you, but I just encourage you guys, don't be shy and come. It's very easy. It's not like a proper interview by any means. Like, I'm not going to put you on the spot or anything like that. It's just, I think it'd be really great for all the female viewers and subscribers to watch if you want to share your experience. No,
I have one last thing I gotta say.
Yeah.
And it's just, I wrote this down because it's just some advice that I have that worked for me. We've talked about it a little bit, you know, everybody wants to get crazy into supplements and you don't want to get into those early. But one thing that can't harm you is getting those things via food. It's never going to be stimulating via food. And through natural means like that. So like right now, I still don't take any supplements at all, but I'm doing really well. And why is that? And this is the big one. There's 5 things, but the biggest one is liver. And I know that sounds crazy, but liver has such a high B vitamin profile. And that's one of the things that we're lacking the most when we do this. Also high in vitamin C, and a form of vitamin C that your adrenal glands can actually store. You know, your adrenal glands are the only thing in your body that actually stores vitamin C. It's the only organ, from what I know. And so we deplete from vitamin C really easily. So like liver's been huge for me. Magnesium, which I don't consider a supplement because it's just naturally occurring. And then just eating balanced foods. It's just like, that's my medicine. I am doing holy basil now. In the form of tea. It's very, very light that way. But like people underestimate just how much, like something like liver, but then really the other thing is the electrolytes, magnesium, sodium, and potassium. Because of the state that our bodies are in, we're burning through it. Like your magnesium is used in the adrenal glands a lot. So it's like, from the beginning, I was doing the magnesium, but for me, like when I started eating liver, that's when my energy started to go up a little bit more. I did notice a difference. So I eat it like most days. It's disgusting. It's disgusting.
How does your wife prepare that?
She was making a pate, which
okay.
But now like I just throw them on the skillet, and I throw some salt and pepper on it, and I just force myself. And the thing is, it's just the texture that's weird, but you eventually do get a taste for it. In the beginning, you're going to be like, but if you can find a way to get that in, I mean, because the biggest fear I had, because I had a lot of people pushing vitamin B supplements on me. And I was like, I just intuitively was like, that's going to stimulate me. But I also knew I was deficient in it. And I mean, go look at the nutritional information for chicken liver, especially. It's like, can't believe I'm on a YouTube video saying go eat chicken liver, but yeah, I'm serious. It has been a game changer for me, at least. So I highly recommend it. That was the last thing I wanted to say.
Okay, awesome. Guys, thanks for watching this interview. Thanks to Wayo for coming back and sharing his updated experience. And again, those of you who want to do an interview with me, contact me via email is the best way for this. And especially if you are a female, because I really want to have a female voice on it as well. So thanks guys for watching, and I will see you guys in my next video. The details in phase 4 is coming out soon. And I also have a in-between video where I'm going to be talking about the taboo subject of everything sex related as far as the health crash recovery. So I'll see you guys on the next video. Have a great rest of the week. Bye.
Guys, I really hope you enjoyed my video. If you did, give me a thumbs up and share my videos with others. That would really help me expand my audience. If you haven't subscribed, please click the subscribe button as well as the bell icon so you'll be notified whenever I upload new content. I now have PayPal Donate, so if you're interested in that and you want to support my channel, you can click on the link in my comment section as well as the upper right hand corner of my channel homepage. Thank you so much for watching, you guys. As always, remember, it's never too late to optimize yourself, and you can always start right now. Until next time, I'm Jaden Christopher, and I'm wishing you a thriving day. Bye.